Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Meet Praneeth. The topic of today's video is very important for anyone who has recently got their green card or have been staying on their green card, because there are things that can get you deported while being on green card. Yes, you heard it right. So once we get your green card, generally our immigration experiences become very smooth, travel becomes very smooth, and we tend to sometimes neglect some important rules and regulations. And this is where we have to know these rules and regulations very effectively. You can use them very effectively so that you can continue to maintain your status. So the first and very foremost thing, any kind of criminal offense, if you're involved in child abuse, and if you're involved in aggravated felonies, drug misuse, firearm misuse, any kind of felony or any kind of criminal offense, then that can lead to deportation. Second, immigration violations, where the very first thing that can be covered under this is marriage fraud. Let's say you became a permanent resident. Now you're trying to earn money by marrying to someone who is not entitled to a green card or not entitled through the right process, and you're trying to help them get a green card by marrying them. So basically doing a fraud marriage. So that can basically, if USCIS comes to know about this, then that can lead to your deportation. Second, lying on your immigration petitions. So if you're lying on your petitions, or let's say any kind of immigration related paperwork, then that is also can be a cause of deportation. Now let's say if you're trying to falsely claim some of your something in the paperwork, or you're falsely claiming some achievement of yours, then that all can lead to that kind of deportation. Now, how USCIS can find out? Again, they would scrutinize your work. If they find it during the petition, then that's one case. Let's say sometimes if that's missed in some certain aspects, but when you're filing for your citizenship, it might come back again to you, and then it can become a big problem. Then the other thing is, let's say you're failing to notify USCIS about your address change. So as a permanent resident, as a green card holder, it's your duty to notify USCIS whenever you move. So for example, let's say you got your green card at location X, right? So that location you were working or staying, and you got your green card at that location, and that's the address on your file. But now you have moved to a location Y because of your work or because of something that you want to move to a different place. Now you have to notify USCIS so that they know what is your current physical mailing address and current resident address. Why it is important? Because that is the only way they can reach out to you regarding any information that they need from you, or any kind of communications they need to get to you as a green card holder. So that is a very important thing. The other thing is, if you try to show that you're a US citizen, then that can also be a very big problem and can lead to deportation, and we'll discuss that a little bit deeper in the rest of the video. The third important thing is national security and terrorism. If you're involved in any kind of terrorism or terror activities, then that can lead to deportation. Again, the criminal charges and all of that will be decided by the government, but any kind of terror activity that you're involved in can lead to serious charges and deportation. The fourth one is something that I've not seen many cases, I've not seen much evidence on that, but it is something that is important to know. Let's say you had an existing condition, right? And that with that existing condition, medical condition, or any other condition you had, you came to the United States and become a permanent resident. Now, because of that particular condition, if you become dependent on the government and you're using the government assistance, then that can also lead to deportation. Now, it says that if you're a green card holder and become dependent on the government assistance within the first 5 years, then that is something that can cause a problem. But again, as I said, I've not seen much evidence here. I'm not sure how it exactly works, but this is something to remember, that if you have a pre-existing condition and that you came to the United States as a permanent resident, in the first 5 years of residency, you became dependent because of that on the government services or assistantship, then that can cause a problem. The other one is very important, and this is something a lot of us might not be aware of, but your green card comes with certain restrictions. Yes, those restrictions are that you cannot stay outside of the United States for more than 180 days or 6 months. So let's say once you get your green card, you're traveling, right? Let's say you want to go to India or China or any other place, and you went there and you didn't come back for, let's say, 6 months or maybe more than 6 months. If you're coming back within 6 months, then that is fine because that's allowed. But if you're taking more than 6 months, then in some cases you might be required to have a re-entry permit approved by USCIS. Also, in certain cases, when you're coming back after 6 months, you might be stopped by a CBP officer and you might be asked to sign an I-407. So the question comes, what is I-407? I-407 is a document which says voluntarily giving up your green card. So you're saying, yes, I'm voluntarily giving up green card. I don't need the green card anymore and I don't want to stay in the United States. Don't do that, because sometimes what happens, you might be pressured and you might not know what to do and you might sign it and then you just are giving up your green card. But the idea is that the restriction says that you should not be outside of the United States for more than 180 days. So please remember that. And even in cases you have to travel and you have to stay because of certain emergencies, or you're trying to take care of your parents, or whatever the reason is, then make sure you have the re-entry permit filed for the USCIS and it's signed or approved by USCIS. And finally, the other thing which is very important, and sometimes we might make this mistake, which you should not and must take care of this, is voting in US elections. Voting in any kind of US democratic elections within the country is a big no-no when you are a permanent resident. Because first of all, you're trying to falsely claim that you're a US citizen. That's what I wanted to talk about. And the other thing is you're doing something which you're not allowed to do, right? So you're breaking the law. So sometimes what happens is when you're filling out the USPS change of address or filling out DMV record, they might ask these questions of voting rights, right? And if you by mistake said, yes, I want to vote, then that's a problem because you're trying to falsely claim to be a US citizen, because only US citizens can vote in the US elections. So please be aware of these important things. Just to summarize, any kind of criminal offenses can lead to deportation, any kind of immigration frauds or immigration violations can lead to deportation. Any kind of activity in terrorism related activity or terror activity can lead to deportation, or can also lead to serious charges. And then if you're become dependent on US government assistantship in the first 5 years of residency because of an existing condition, then that could also be a problem. And finally, the most important one is the 180 days staying out of United States. So if you're a green card resident, you should come back within 180 days. If you have to stay outside of US for more than 180 days, do have a re-entry permit filed with USCIS and get it approved from them. And finally, do not vote. Do not vote on being a permanent resident. You cannot. You can only vote in United States if you are a US citizen. So this was the video. I just wanted to make this video so that all of the green card holders or someone who may be becoming green card holders soon or already existing green card holders know about these important rules and regulations, and you must follow them. And I'll see you in the next video very, very soon. Till then, have a great weekend. Take care.